Let's wait for just few more minutes until more folks join in. Then we'll start. Like, let's start like until more folks join. So hello everyone, welcome to Meshery Build and Release call. Today, January 25th, and this is a specific call where we discuss different CI related build and release testing framework, things like that related to Meshery project. And in case you're joining for the first time, Meshery is a CNCF project that helps you manage your Kubernetes clusters, your cloud native applications across different environments in a collaborative way. And so there are a few things to note. First is like if you're joining live from Zoom, ensure that you add your names in the meeting minutes. And if you have a webcam, like it would be great to meet you visually, so you can turn that on. And yeah, so let's see how many are newcomers and let's give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. So, Arvind, would you like to introduce? I think you're joining for the first time. I hope I'm audible. Arvind? Okay, okay. Noted. You can later on introduce in chat. I think Saurabh, I think you have joined earlier, but you are joining after a few months, I think few weeks. So would you like to reintroduce? It's
Yeah,
been a
sure,
while.
Pranav. Yeah, thank you, Pranav. Hey, everyone. My name is Saurabh Kumar Singh, and I'm from India, basically from Lucknow district. And I've been part of the Mesheries since quite a lot time previously, but haven't contributed in a code base. So looking forward to contribute to the Meshery. And right now I'm looking to this ongoing registry command line, which is, I think it's between Pranav and Ripple Hondo. So looking for it and I'm going to put my review on it. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you for introduction. Um, I think the rest all are old timers. So let's start with the first agenda item that we discuss in all the calls. That is Meshery's test plan. Basically, this is a high-level overview of different tests that we as a project aim to introduce through our workflows, so that each component of Meshery can be tested thoroughly before a new release is made. And so yeah, this is like self-explanatory. Like there is different columns which gives specific information for a test. So let's say if you want to test the installation and what is the component that is being tested, that mesh CTL. Let's say the platform, under which platform the Meshery environment would be set up, whether it's Kubernetes or Docker. So for this, it's Kubernetes. And what it will install basically the testing scenario is testing Meshery's deployment on Kubernetes platform. And what action it's like is CLI. Actually, there is a bug recently. We can discuss it today. It's about like December version. Like we'll get to it, but basically, if you make a is alpha, beta, or release candidate release, and then Meshery is not released for that, and we just make a normal Meshery release. So at that point of time, if any user try to install Meshery through this command, then it wouldn't install. There is a logical error. So I don't know if there is an issue, but today we can discuss that. Okay, so next is like expected outcome. Meshery should be starting. Meshery should have a healthy start in the Kubernetes environment, and any notes for any the reviewers or the contributors who are writing the test, and the actual outcome, and whether it's been currently tested in any of the E2E tests or not. And yep, that's about like different operating system which are checked for the specific testing scenario. So basically, this is like a very not exhaustive, but it tries to cover all the different things. And if you don't know, Meshery CTL uses Cobra as a framework for writing the CLI. And if you haven't like explored in that, we actually write golden files, which um gives the expected output from the command. And then like, okay, I can just show you one example today. Okay, so if I go to Meshery CTL, you'll go here. So this is Meshery repo, and you will go to Meshery CTL directory that has all the code base for Meshery CTL. All these are top level commands: app, config, constant, experimental, filter, fixtures. Let's see if you go to system. Then all these are sub commands. And let's just say we want to test, let's say start. I think this should be this. Let's just go with provider. So provider is basically, it's like it's for the remote provider. Let's take a simple test tool. That's um, let's start with token. So in order to log into Meshery, a specific token is required. The token actually authenticates your identity with Meshery server, and token actually expire after, I think the time frame is 1 day. So after that, you won't be able to log in with the same token. You have to refresh your token. That means you have to re-log in. But basically, there's a command for that. So if you're just using the CLI client and you're not using the UI, so there's a command for logging in directly from the CLI. So you can create a token in a mesh config. So okay, I'll just quickly go through it. Mesh config is like, if you have used Kubernetes before, you might have like heard about kube config, which includes all the configuration for your running Kubernetes cluster. Mesh config is exactly same. It's synonymous to that, but it's like for Meshery deployment. So all the configuration for your running Meshery deployment is inside of mesh config, and you can find that in your .meshery folder. It's a hidden folder in your directory. So basically, um, this includes all the things. So it actually includes a path to the token, which is this auth.json, and you can create a new token. It will actually override that. So basically, let's say we want to now there is a token file includes all the logic for the token command, and token test will include the test for that. So let's say we want to test creating a token. So basically it will pass these arguments, and you will see expected response. So this expected response is written in this file, which you can go and explore in this test data and fixtures. And this is the expected response YAML. So after the test is performed, what should be the output for that? So it's written in this, and it basically is like standard Go testing. Then it will just have logic here, which checks the output and runs the command, and it checks the output from the actual output. The one output is from this, which we have written here. The other one is like, which is the actual output, which we get after we run the command based on the logic changes that we make in the token file, which I was just showing. So if both of them matches, then it's fine. If it doesn't, then we return an error. So this is like an example of a test case. So like you can add more. Currently, like token has just these commands, so we're just testing that. But let's say if we add a new command, so then we'll add a new scenario here. So this is like an example. Okay, so that's just one thing. And if we can quickly check one more, like for Istio, because that's another sophisticated test. I think the most sophisticated. So Istio Meshery has different adapters for like provisioning different kind of infrastructure. One of, like, let's say you want to manage the life cycle of Istio service mesh in your environment, then you can use this adapter. Basically, it just exposes different features through an interface, and then this actually runs as a separate container, and then it talks to meshes with gRPC. So basically, what we are going to discuss is this one test, which actually tests the health of this test, health of this adapter. So if we go to this E2E test, so what this thing does is it actually starts a Kubernetes cluster, then it start Meshery in that environment using Meshery CTL, then it runs the adapter, then what it does is it uses the adapter to provision these EC2 service mesh. Then it checks these expected resources under these type of resources under this namespace. If these resources come up at an expectable time period, then we say the test passes, otherwise it fails. And this is just one test for this adapter. Like there's recent work in adding a new Nighthawk adapter. So it's like working with performance test, like in managing life cycle of Nighthawk deployment. So it will also likely have a very similar test case. So yep. So I hope that um give a little bit of overview of how testing works. And basically, this is actually calling another main workflow. This is just a call to this workflow, and this actually includes all the logic which takes these as inputs and then runs things. So, any questions on this so far? Anybody has any questions? Um, One more thing is like once the test is completed, we actually post it to this place where there's a compatibility matrix where all the tests for each um adapters are actually posted so that anybody can like realize what's the um, compatibility specific adapter with specific Meshery deployment in a specific Kubernetes environment. So it's I think under yep. So it's here. So this is the thing. So as you can see, currently it's failing. It's failing for quite some time. It requires a little bit of cleanup, but it's passing for Linkerd, Kuma, and couple of them. So these are actually coming directly from that workflow. So when the workflow completes, it posts the results here. So anybody would like to volunteer for working on this? Anybody has any questions about this?
Sure, Pranav. I can try one time. Maybe I can clean up that test for the test cases. So yeah.
That would cool. Can you create a quick issue in Meshery so that we can track it here? I think there should be one, but yeah, it's already there. Oops, I think someone is already working on it. Okay, so but no worries, you can actually take another one. We have one more. If you can look into this Nginx service mesh adapter. If there are no issues, if you can please open a quick, okay, there are, I had here. You can actually take this up. I think the other member has not that active recently, so you can, if you can comment here, I'll assign you and then we can move forward.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this was one, and the other part of the spreadsheet is it's like another sheet which actually gives a little bit of overview of different workflows that we are running in different repos, and basically what they are, what's the aim behind running that workflow. So let's take one quick one. Basically, it's like things like, let's say if someone makes a PR, then and they upload documentation, then what we show is their changes through a Netlify link so that you reviewers can directly go to that link and verify the changes instead of like running the environment again in their local system and then testing. So we have other things like Golang, CI, then check, backend build, and other things. Let's take one quick example, which is like the most important one, that is the stable release. So if we go back to Meshery and we go to .github, we'll go to workflows. Here are all the workflows for this repo, and there is stable release, this one. So basically, the work of this workflow is to actually build a Meshery and push it to Docker image, Docker Hub, and then basically make it available for everyone for their use for the latest release. So whenever we add a new tag to our release, then this workflow kicks off, and it makes a documentation, updates the REST API documentation and GraphQL documentation. So Meshery have two different API formats. One is REST API, other one is GraphQL. And we push that once like we build each of them, then we commit the changes back to the this repo. under the docs folder. You can check that. And here. And the next thing is like we build the image like standard Docker build command. We tag them with specific image tags. Then we push them back to Docker Hub, and then we build Meshery. So I was just explaining like we don't build it for specific versions, as you can see. We are not building it for like patch release, alpha, beta, and release candidate. So this was the issue. Like these, like we had to do this because actually we have to push message.ctl binary to Brew, and Brew doesn't accept these alpha, beta, these pre-releases. So it's like we can't push message.ctl, but we have to make a patch release for Meshery. So if we don't make a message.ctl patch release, then and if someone tries to install Meshery through Meshery at that moment, then it will fail because there's a logical error somewhere in the code where we don't check thoroughly the patch. We don't actually sort them properly, and because of that, the latest version is corrupted, and users are not able to install Meshery at that, not able to install Meshery through Meshery at that point of time. So, so that's another bug if someone would like to volunteer for that. So basically, once we build Meshery binary, then we push it to this repo. Um, we actually push it to a repo which is responsible for pushing it to Brew's main repo. So we use that one of their workflow. And then we actually build a Docker desktop extension image from here. If you're a Docker desktop user, then you can directly install Meshery through this place. If you haven't seen, let me quickly show. If you go to add extensions, you'll go search Meshery. You'll actually get the exact same experience in this Docker desktop environment. So you don't have to like worry about using Meshery or doing anything else. You just click on install button and it will give you an healthy Meshery environment to start playing in the either in your mesh map or other Meshery UIs. Then we also build Kubernetes Helm charts. So if you're a Kubernetes user, then you might want to use the Helm charts. So we build the Helm charts and then we push it to the Meshery/Meshery.io. And let's say if any of the steps which we currently saw, if they fails, then we make an email to our developers Meshery.io mailing list so that if anything goes wrong, we can quickly fix it. And we also update the playground environment. So if you don't know, Meshery has a playground environment where all the features of Meshery are readily available. So you don't have to like do anything. You can just go to that play.meshery.io and start using Meshery directly in your browser. So basically, we also ensure that we like regularly clean the environment so that everybody has a healthy state for like just playing in the environment. So that is done like on a regular basis. We also do it when we make a new release. Now, if any of the things fails, like as I was saying, we make the email about the failure. But if everything passes, we also make a release documentation to the mailing list. So this is like another overview for this build and release stable workflow. So anybody has any questions on this? Okay, if there are no questions, you can also ask later on, but let's start with the agenda item. Like today we are, I think, low on agenda. Nobody's like, can we start with messaging? Like Daniel, if you would like to give an update on that.
Okay, I can give an update, at least where I am so far.
Okay.
At least just to get a feel of where I am, and
Yeah.
then but I'll be mostly looking at code, and then yeah. So what I'm currently working on is I need to do end-to-end tests for mesh sync, and the idea was take install the Meshery ecosystem using Meshery, then substitute the image the image for mesh sync in the deployment, and then make some requests to the mesh server, and then you can test, we can deploy a resource and then test that the resource has been discovered and can be seen on the other side. So what I've done so far, I'm slowly coming towards it, but I've been able to install MeshSync, install Meshery, and then build the MeshSync Docker image and then replace. And now the next steps that I'm doing, which is actually currently under work, is first of all, I needed a way to scale down the deployment, or rather delete the older version of the pod. But since I can't get the pod, the design I went with is just to scale down the deployment to 0, which will naturally remove the running pod, and then I'll change the image. So I'm using a combination of a script in between. So I change the image to now the image that we have locally that I have built in the previous step. And then I also realize I need to patch some parts of the deployment, because at this point, there's also another issue that we discovered, that MeshSync is very tightly coupled to the Meshery operator. A lot of the functionalities had coded into it. So this is sort of hacky in a way, but I'm replacing especially the image name, the name of the image, and the image pool policy. These are the two things that I'm replacing. And then once I've done that, I scale back the deployment to 1, which was there before. So this will mean the new pod that will come up will now contain the test image that we have locally, or rather in the testing machine. Then so I'm at this point where I'm trying to deploy. I want to deploy a pod, and then with specific labels. I could be more creative and maybe deploy a pattern, or one of the designs that is in Meshery. Yeah, it could be. But the question on that is, what is the lifetime? Because we expect this test to be running, say, from now into the future. So are there patterns that we already have, or designs that are long lasting, like they will last through the lifetime of the project, so that at least we can use more features of the project to do the test. So here I'll, of course, for testing, I'll just use a pod, which is simple to come up, and then I'll adapt it to maybe a specific design that is there. Now, the question that I also had, when you're talking about meshctl and the token. So if I'm going to use, say, curl to check something, at some point it requires the token. At this point, I've had coded the token. Or there's another step here that I also need to use kubectl to determine the cluster ID. I realize that. But yeah, the big question now is this token. At this point, I've had coded just because I'm testing. I won't commit it to source control. Is there a way? Okay, now I know I need to use secrets at some point but now generating it on the fly without logging in via the UI. So if there's that somewhere, you can point me towards something similar that has been done. And then I think once I get over that situation, because this I got the output earlier and I could see these are the say the pods that are there. I can use JQ to filter by specific labels. This is just one of the responses that I got. Can use JQ to filter for a specific label. If we find that, then the test passes. So yeah. So this is still work in progress, except for those bits that I will need help, like just some pointers to tell me, okay, if you want to do automatic login on the CLI, here is where you can look at something like that.
Mm. First of all, thank you for your update, and those are some great questions. So, if first of all, I would like to ask if anybody else have any questions, then I can like give some pointers. Any questions for Daniel? Okay. There are no question, then I can like first of all, like if you were asking about if there is any design which we can use for a next extended period so that the same design can be used on a repeated fashion for us for
Yeah.
the same test.
Mhm.
So actually, see the designs like there are different visibility for the designs. One is public and private. So public and private generally for users for collaborating. The published one is a like the more it's like more authentic and more um already reviewed by the maintainers. So all those catalog items which we see in Meshery.io catalog, mostly all of them would always remain there, and it's very less likely that they would be deleted. So you can use any of those catalog item for your test. But what you can do
Mhm.
is you can first design your own design, and then you can
Mhm.
post it for publishing to the catalog, and then you can just use it for your testing. So you will actually have a URL for the specific design, and you can just use
Mhm.
it as you like.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that is one way.
Mhm.
I also show the catalog. So should I share my screen?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. If I could. So hopefully my screen is visible. So this is the catalog I was talking about.
Mhm.
So the flow is like, let me go to the playground environment and I'll show you. So let's say we create a new design which we would like to use for our mesh sync testing. So
Mhm.
let's just wait for a few seconds as it loads. So basically we'll create a design and we'll push it to catalog. Then once it's available in the catalog, then we can just you can, let's say, you can use these specific ones, like you can download them, and these are always available, so you can use them for your testing. You can either download it from there or you can download it from cloud catalog. And yeah, like, okay, let me just show now. So let's say if we create a new namespace just for testing, and so we have this namespace, and for testing we can just get a new, we can call it mesh sync test, and we can just give a name to this design, that is mesh sync test. And then once we have this, you can like come here, click on this publish button. You can fill in the details, like basically how it integrates with different technologies, small description, like it will be used for meshing testing. If any
Mhm.
caveats, if there are no, you can just put any are not available, and you can click on this submit for approval. So what it will do is, let me just do it on the fly. Okay, so if I just fill it really quickly, so just click Kubernetes, and I say this is a test for mesh sync deployment. No, now if I just click publish, so what it will do is like it will send an email to maintainers, and then maintainers will review the design, and there is actually a workflow that actually kicks off, and it checks all the available published design, and then it will push it to this catalog, this one as well as the cloud catalog. So they are just two different interfaces, either it's this one or this, but the UI is exactly same. Basically the content is exactly same, it's just different UI.
Mhm.
So this is actually done. I can also show you it's done by this workflow. So in Meshery.io, um, we have a workflow, add catalog, this one, and this actually
Mhm.
kicks off almost every day.
Mhm.
And what it does is, so you can see it actually reaches out to the cloud, this one which you were saying. It gets all the catalog content, and then it
Mhm.
just like parses the information, and then it creates the front matter for that UI website, and then it posts basically what it does is it commits them back to the repo at the end. There's one more part which is this thing, this this thing. It actually kicks off one more workflow, which is this one, meshmap.yaml. Now there are two things. One is once we get all the data, the second thing is we take a screenshot of that design. So you were seeing this thing, these screenshots. So these are actually real view of that specific design. So we do that in the workflow. So we, so basically this is that. Basically we run this workflow and it just takes a screenshot of that and then adds that to the front matter, and then it gets posted to this website. So basically you can just use any of these designs and it should be good. So yeah.
Yeah.
Like once you post, you'll have a UUID for that, so it will be unique. And you can even like get it from, like there's a same API exposed in Meshery server as well. So if you pass a ID, so you will get the same specific design. So you can use that. Or you can just download this or use this any one of them. So this is one thing.
Can you deploy a design using meshctl?
Yes. There's a
Okay.
command
Mhm.
meshctl. Is meshctl pattern apply? I think that
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
find it for you. It should be in documentation. There is a command for that.
Yeah.
Mm, I'll just find it.
Yeah, I think I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah, there is one. I have to find it, but there is somewhere.
It's there in the references here.
Yes.
Pranab, I was suggesting apply command is there in the references part.
Yeah, yes. So you can check it from the use case. This is one thing, and the second thing you were asking about authenticating through CLI. So there are a couple of ways for it. One is like if you go to security, like in your cloud environment, and
Mhm.
you'll go to tokens, you can actually generate a token. So basically, the token that you'll generate here is an infinite token. That means it doesn't have an expiry date. You can use it for as much time as you want. And basically, the same token is already available in every repo under Meshery org. So you will see provider token as a secret. You can use that. It's the exact same thing. So it's under
Oh,
a robot account of L5IO. So
mhm.
you can just use that.
So
For your test, yes.
if you use that, will it like last through? It will never. Okay. Okay.
It's already being used almost on every other workflow. So you can
Okay.
take a reference for that. And for testing, you can generate for yourself. Like if you want to test in yours GitHub action,
Mhm.
so you can use this.
Okay.
Mm, Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had one more question.
Yeah.
Okay, not related to the test
Mm-hmm.
as such, but related to documentation. Like if you just go to docs, for
Yep.
example,
Yep.
then search for say components.
What thing?
Uh,
Components?
Yeah, just components. Then just go to components, for example. If you go, yeah, below, towards the bottom, where the suggested reading. If you
Mm-hmm.
notice, a lot of this is the same. The is it? Okay. Maybe try or maybe go to connections. There was one that had repeating just repeating text in the references section. Uh,
Okay.
Suggested reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, okay, I think they've been cleaned up, but there was one that just had the same text
Okay.
being repeated all through. So I was wondering, is that by design or maybe I can open up here for that? But I think a cleanup has been done and it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, there is
it's,
a workflow which No, not a workflow actually, but there is like this is part of the layout, I think. So it automatically adds the suggesting reading. I think so.
Oh, okay. A few days back, as I was trying to research, we had say components. If you look at components, the description for components was being repeated in all the others.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was pointing correctly, but just the description. But anyway, I think that's sorted. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone has any other questions related to that? I can show you that token which I was talking about. So if you go to the workflows, mm, once. So you can see this one, this secret sort provider token. So this is used for authentication to any of the Meshery deployment. So this should be available in that meshing repo as well. So yeah. Actually you are muted, I think.
Okay, sorry. So I can design with this in mind. I'll just in my test, I'll call it the same, so
Yeah,
that when it just ports over to the main branch, it will sync in automatically. Okay.
yeah, sure. Yeah. Anyone has any questions? Okay, so I can then discuss about next thing, which is a snapshot service release was made. So let me show. If you go to this repo, mesh map snapshot, so there was a recent release which actually fixes the failing snapshot service. So basically, this service is responsible for taking the screenshots which I was showing. So these screenshots that we see here are actually taken through that workflow. So it actually has a lot of use case and functionality. Like it can take screenshot. It takes screenshot for these websites. It takes screenshot for on PR. So if you have seen any latest PR on Meshery, let's show. Let's say if you see, you go to this PR, you'll see this screenshot. It is taken by that same workflow. What it does is that it actually it takes a specific path as input and then it loads all the files which are there in that path on the mesh map canvas. Then once the canvas is loaded with all the content, then it takes a screenshot and then it just pastes on the this specific comment. Or we can also pass a specific design ID as we are doing for this thing. Um, this thing. So we are actually, as I was showing, there's a workflow while we are generating all the content. We pass the design ID and see this here, and we just use a design ID to load this design, this one, on the canvas. And then once we get everything, then we take a screenshot and then we post it to this website. So there was a problem in uploading the content, as there was some recent changes which updates couple of things around the upload. Where's the links? So there was a couple of things which actually changes the payload structure and which required some updates. So we updated it here. Here I updated the upload script. So what it does was, okay, so basically the fix was we actually changed the payload where earlier we were taking string as input while we were reading the content, but we wanted to make it more dynamic and same kind of method should be used for reading files. So actually we wanted to read different kinds of file like a tarz file or zip file, Helm charts, or any other file for that matter. And currently we were just supporting YAML files, so string was working fine. But like let's say if you read a tarz file as string and then you parse it in the backend, then it was like corrupting the data. So made the payload like consistent. So that required a change in this client. So I add that where once we read the design, we convert it into like an unsigned int array, and then we like just do the exact same thing as we were doing. So we just convert the design into an unsigned int array, and then we just post it to Meshery server. And here you can see we pass that token, which I was just discussing. So that token is used in this part. This fix is available now, so you can just very like you can use it in your environment. You can just view on marketplace. So if you want to know how to use it, so there are very different ways. One of that is you can go to your cloud account and you can go to your connections under spaces. You can go to connections and you can start a new GitHub connection. So once you do that, it will give you this wizard where you can very easily connect your GitHub application. Basically, it will like go through a different number of steps where you will select your organization to which you want to grant access. Then it will generate few tokens for you, which you want to copy paste in your specific repo. Then you'll select a path and then you'll just configure secrets. And then that's it. Like then a workflow would be committed to your specific repo and then it will run as and when you make a PR to your repository. So this is a great way of knowing different. So you can visually see different changes that are being done in your um, code that represents your environment. So it's like instead of checking the YAML file and doing all that, we, so it makes thing a little more easier to view and review. So that's about it. So now it works. So anybody has any questions on this?
So how would like an application to something that is not Meshery, how would that like sample applications that you can use the public GitHub action for?
Okay. Let me explain with an example. So let's see. So basically, you're asking if we have just a sample Kubernetes manifest, how will that work for this, right? Yeah, that's a great question. So first, let's see the like configuration that we have for the workflow. So this is Meshery, and we can go to meshmap.yaml. This is just the name of the file. So what currently it does is that it takes this as input. So it's taking install, deployment YAMLs, and gates, and basically taking a path which will a directory which has all the different files that we want to track. Second thing is it's taking the application type. Basically we are telling Meshery that the application is Kubernetes manifest, but it could also be Docker Compose app, or it could also be Helm chart, and it could also be just a design file which Meshery knows. So it could be any of these three things. It can also be an OCI artifact, but let's leave it for now. So now let's see what's there inside of this thing. So if I go to install, I go to deployment YAML and it and do to kits. So you can see it's just sample YAML files. It's nothing like fancy here. It just represent different components of Meshery. So what it does once we load this design to Meshery, Meshery actually converts this design to a design file. It actually converts each of so the flow is like first of all we'll combine all this YAML file into a single YAML file. Then we'll send it to Meshery server. Meshery server will actually convert this Kubernetes manifest to a design, which Meshery knows, which we were just seeing on the canvas. So yeah, so this is a design file, and Meshery actually converts it to this design file. And then once it's converted, then it's like rest of the things are how Meshery can manage it. So I can also show an example. So let's say if I try to upload a file, I was just testing few minutes ago. Okay. So yeah, let's say I just like install this Istio YAML. It's a simple Istio application. It's actually the same YAML which we have there. So I'll just upload this. So I think I missed checking this thing. So we have to always ensure that we select the right design type, but this will be deprecated in future. But for now, let's ensure we select the right one, and then we just click istio.yaml and I think this, I was just testing it, so just let me try with one more. Um, that schema takes always some time to load, so let's see. Okay, so I choose this. I go to file upload. Let's take a different one. SV. This actually just a different 3 or 5 services. So if I just click this, okay, so it's uploaded now. So if you go back to mesh map and we try to see that design, I'll also show you the real YAML so that there's no discrepancy. Okay. This is the one which I just, so it's just a simple YAML which has different services. It actually has the same service, but I've just written multiple times for testing. So we got this thing. You can also check like who uploaded it. So it should be just me. So if I click on this, it will have the exact same services. Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what it did was it actually converted them to these shapes and these icons. It just added it on the fly. Now you can just do all the manipulation. It will also retain all the values that you had added it. So you can see all my ports are still available, but I can now configure it again. So this is the flow.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Looks good.
You can also do the same thing for Helm charts. So you can just pass a URL to Helm chart, or you can do same for Docker Compose as well. You can upload the file or pass a URL. So that's the thing. We have about 10 more minutes. So we can discuss things. Anybody has anything else to discuss? I can discuss few more things like this. Anybody has any questions? Also, if you haven't added your names, please consider adding a name. Arvind or Saurabh and Tarun, please. I'll share the link in the chat. Okay, we can discuss one more item about publishing to catalog. So how you can like contribute, like if you're quite new in the community and you're still learning about Kubernetes, like the quick way is to get started with this place where you can actually just like while you're learning Kubernetes, you might learn few designs. You basically might like learn by creating new deployment or new services in your environment. So once you can directly create it from here. So the flow is like, let me show you. You can just you can first of all like choose some different categories. These actually just represent different integration mesh. We have a different other tools. So if you're just learning Kubernetes, then that's fine. You'll have all the different Kubernetes resources like API service, binding, cluster role, and CSI node, almost everything. So let's say you created a deployment for your testing environment, or while you're learning, you create a deployment. And so you can just, once you like have the deployment, you can just configure it from here, add a namespace, and just fill out the specs, selectors, and other things. Once you do that, then you can just rename your design. You might design one. And once it's saved, then you can like post it to the catalog. You can just like fill in the information and then it will be available once it's reviewed and approved. So then the advantage of that is like your design will actually be given like preference. So you'll see your design directly in this tab. So like 5 minutes ago, I updated like uploaded that namespace, which is still there. So I think now it should also be available to the other catalog. So if the things are working fine, so there is, let's see. So if you go to Meshery.io and see, so that got committed in this thing, the specific one which I just created. I think it's this one. Yeah, so see our meshing test which we created at the start of this call. So it's already available. So now if I go to this website, um, I just go back, look at log. If I just search meshing, refresh, it should ideally be here now. I think the site is still building, then it will take few minutes because after the commit is made, it takes few time for the site to build. I think that's the reason. But yeah, once the site is built properly, then it would be available here. So like that's the different flow. And so you can actually, there are a couple of issues which I've created in Meshery. So you can just use those references for creating your design. So if I can share that link. Yeah, these. So I actually created a number of child issues as well, so that it's easier to work on. It's like all these are still like open. So if anybody would like to work on this, you can just like go to this specific depot. I've just shared the exact specific link. You can like directly, if you want to learn, you can like first read that design, that deployment, then create it using mesh map, or you can like, like directly import the design as well, directly import the YAML file, then it will be converted and then you can post. So I've already shared the steps, so I'll also share the link if you like to work on this. I'll also add it in the meeting minutes. So if anybody would like to volunteer, they can. It has like a number of different child issues as well, so it can be easily worked on. Anyone has any questions on this? There are a number of different examples, so
Is there a
you can also
specific naming convention that you use for this?
no, actually naming convention, I don't think, but the name should be actually like legible. It shouldn't be like anything, but it should represent the specific design.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good question. Like we can add it somewhere, the naming convention. That's cool.
And also description, I think.
Yeah. Description is very important. Like without a description, it's not approved. So description and caveats are important thing. Same with the technology selector, so which I was just showing. So if I go back, these, so these description and this thing, so you can learn about them. So these are, I think, linked to documentation. Yeah, so this is how it works. These are important information. So I'll now unpublish my design, so it will just for testing. So now if I click unpublish, it will be like removed from every place. So if I just click unpublish, so it will be removed. Oops. Like there's a bug. I'll take a note of that. But yeah, ideally it should just unpublish it from here. So, okay, so that's one thing. And second thing which I was just discussing was an issue with Meshery install. I haven't created an issue for this, but I've already explained like there's an issue with installation when we make a patch or pre-release. So we'll fix, there's a ask for that if someone would like to volunteer for this. So you can write your name or suggest your name here similarly for here. And once you like, you can comment on this issue, any of the child issues, so that I can like assign it to you. So yeah, I think we are almost at the end of our call. So if anybody has anything else to discuss, otherwise we can wrap up.
Yeah, thanks for your time. I
Yeah.
always learn something new. every other
Yeah,
time.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that's a wrap then. So thank you all for joining, and now we'll meet like 2 weeks from now. And we'll also see you on Meshery Development Call, which is next week. So bye.
Bye. Thank you, Pranav.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.